they found me and asked me if I would do the presentation today. So I want to start the stage by talking about the GIS platform. It enables this approach to cybersecurity that we're going to be talking about today. GIS is now web GIS. It makes maps, analyzes data, manages information, but in a far simpler form, as you will see. All the pieces are integrated, and it's an open platform. Cybersecurity is a multi-department, multi-organization function, and this type of architecture is required to support it. This environment is accessible from any client, a desktop, web browser, or a mobile device. It's powered and fed by services from your own servers and internal data centers, or services coming from the cloud on the open internet, like maps, models, and multi-int data. It's all about organizing the content, managing access. Portal for GIS is a new extension for on-premise behind the firewall, but it's been already used in GIS Online for organizing content and allowing it to be shared collaboratively. GIS supports the enterprise, the entire organization. It makes mapping in GIS available to everyone. It supports, of course, the GIS professional, but their role and their support mechanism is also changing. This architecture not only transforms what GIS does in the organization, it also affects the role of GIS professionals at the same time, being the enablers and custodians of the GeoInt Foundation data. The web GIS is breaking down the barriers between organizations that separate them. With this environment, we can fluidly integrate our different disciplines and our different activities, whether that is cybersecurity, information technology, mission operations, management, or command. Now, in the context of how cyber fits in with geospatial, we've developed this concept of a cyber supply line. The current approach to cybersecurity tends to be device-centric and resource-intensive, focusing on trying to protect all devices at all times. Many organizations have legacy cybersecurity technology that can't be abandoned. And it's sometimes difficult to integrate IT activities with the rest of the organization. What we need is a conceptual and technical framework that more tightly integrates cyber considerations with all other organizational functions. This graphic, the pancake chart that you just happened to see before in the FBI presentation, is from the Army Training and Doctrine Center, or Command, and it suggests that technologists understand that people, users, location, time, and the physical environment are important considerations for cyber operations. However, cyber operators often rely exclusively on a logical view of their networks and the data that they get from their cybersecurity tools, thereby neglecting critical data that could provide insight to the operational impact. GIS solutions already are widely used within the national security community, defense, national intelligence, critical infrastructure protection, and emergency management. The GIS platform provides a way to fuse the logical, physical, and geographic layers to provide a more complete view. And here we see an example of a GIS with a schematic view of the logical network associated with it. Network analysts and other existing tools can be used to model flow within each layer. However, the real advantage in cybersecurity is to model effect propagation between the layers. So in this case, executives from all organizations are becoming increasingly concerned about the threat posed by cyber attacks. They aren't really focused on the technical aspects of a cyber threat. They want to understand how those attacks might impact their mission. A multi-department and organization solution is required. The groups depicted on the slide have their own specific functions and normally work within their departments using their own tools and data. They may be aware of each other, but their activities are often not synchronized. One of the key findings of a DHS FEMA national level exercise in 2012 was the lack of shared situational awareness. So the key to understanding mission effectiveness by combining cybersecurity, IT infrastructure, operations, and command revolves around bringing all of this information together. So our proposal is to create cyber supply lines. Just like any other line of communication, the communications that support your mission operations are critical to your day-to-day or special event activities. The cyber supply line identifies the critical devices for a specific mission data flow, and each device in the CSL with its geospatial context can be affected by cyber threats as well as physical disturbances. Direct coordination of all those involved is difficult. Therefore, we're proposing a shared situational awareness context which brings all of this information together. So our cyber supply line overlays the logical and physical aspects of the network and allows the mission folks to understand the impact if there is a disruption on their operations. So just as an example with a couple of pictures here, we have a cyber supply line that we've identified between two facilities, one in the central US and one down near Florida. The red line indicates a disruption. It happens to be connected to a device that has failed or has been attacked. That device has a physical location in a building, and that building is on a campus. So we now have some idea of the impact to our mission operation by bringing all of this information together. Now, we're going to go into a demo to show you how this works. My colleague, Richard Gale, is over here on the side, and he's going to drive for us. During the demo, we're going to use Brazil's Summer Olympics in 2016 as the scenario. We're going to show the capabilities for the four main user groups that I discussed earlier: a commander, or in this case, the president of the Brazilian Olympic Committee, his operations mission person, which in this case will be his chief of security, their IT people, and their cybersecurity team. Most of the data that you see is notional, but representative. So first I'm going to take on the role of the chief of security for the Olympics. He's our mission user. We're going to start here with a view of the Olympic Village. This is data that your infrastructure folks will have created previously in a GIS, documenting their facilities management information. And then our IT team has identified the key facilities related to some of the buildings on this particular campus. And here we see an emergency center, an energy center, satellite compound, and a couple of media centers. We can then display our campus area network, which the IT team has documented. The blue lines representative of just a portion of that network. And then we'll zoom into our two media centers and show the local area networks in those buildings, again a representative sample. Our IT organization has documented all this leading up to the Olympics. Now we're going to zoom out to a regional view of the Rio area and show all of the venues. Our IT team has also documented the logical wide area network in this particular case, as shown by the yellow lines. And they've also documented the physical network that those logical lines run over, and we have a representative sample here in the green. And you can see a linkage between the logical segment and its corresponding physical components when Richard clicks on the diagonal logical line at the top of the screen. It is connected in the GIS, and it highlights the physical network that was associated with that logical view. Again, all of this brought together in the GIS. Now, as the chief of security, again our mission user, I want one of my security personnel in this to designate a cyber supply line between the Deodoro and the Maracana football stadiums. So he's going to use an application developed to simply create cyber supply lines by clicking on locations on the map. The particular games for this day in those venues are between teams with historically adversarial fans and therefore could lead to violence in those areas. So we want to be sure that our physical security teams can respond rapidly between these two areas if necessary. So our user has selected the priority in the tool, the CSL tool, that they want to assign to this particular CSL. They click on the two endpoints, They enter a name for that, and then they enter a description so that you know what the focus of that particular CSL is. Now, if we go back to our desktop tool, we can show that, in fact, that cyber supply line is, again, connected to the logical and the physical network. And there we have our connection to our physical network. So what's happening now is, as our cybersecurity team or our IT folks are monitoring the status of the devices and the networks, they can tie any outages or any threats against those devices specifically to this important mission for this time frame. And our mission people can create as many of these cyber supply lines to monitor activities on a day-to-day basis, a static set, or create them for special mission events. Now, I'm going to go back and take on the role of a cybersecurity team member, and we're going to look at the Cybersecurity Center dashboard. So Richard has brought that up on the screen. We have a cybersecurity tool that is providing information on cyber attacks that are coming against our network. Most of these, as a result of our tools, are being defeated at our boundaries. We have a map that shows where those are coming from, and those are generally the first hops. They very well could be multi-hops to the originator of those attacks. And we have our logical view of the network, our physical view of the network, and an alerting window and a chat window. So in this particular case, our cybersecurity team member has identified that there's been a network penetration of our security camera system at one of our stadiums. So the team is going to immediately start working to block access to that external IP, and at the same time, they're going to notify our security operations chief. So we're going to switch over to his dashboard now, and they'll be sending an alert to him so that he understands that there is a cybersecurity threat against this particular venue. So you can see that that alert has shown up in his alert window, and he will now notify his physical security team at that venue to be extra vigilant because of the fact that somebody penetrated the security camera system. There may be trouble brewing at that particular venue. And he then notifies his boss, the head of the Brazilian Olympic Committee. So I'll now take on the role of the chairman of the committee, and we toggle to his dashboard. And you can see in this case, this could be a very small set of icons or dials on his tablet. He's doing other work. He has other things he's interested in. He doesn't want the same view that either his security chief or his cybersecurity people had. He just wants to know that things are either good or going badly or they've already gone bad. And he wants to know who's in charge of it and when they're going to fix it. So in this case, we see that the security status has gone from green to yellow. The notice pops up here that there was a security camera penetration at the football stadium, and he gets a notice up here. The security chief has notified him that the security folks have been alerted. And now that the cybersecurity team has blocked access to that external IP, we get an update. Our dial goes back to green, and it should be an alert popping up here that says the intruder was blocked. There we go. And that the security posture has been raised and will continue to be for some time. Now, if we could go back to the briefing for a summary. Past this one. So what you see here, again, is a view of the platform. You have your traditional geospatial foundational data that our GIS analysts have produced over time. Your organization may already have many people using GIS to build their facilities views. Your Intel and Ops folks will have information coming in from Intel sensors or weather or social media. This is your multi-int information being integrated into the GIS. The object-based production, activity-based intelligence type things that the community is moving into. And then you have your cybersecurity tools. So integrating this into the platform becomes easy if that data has locational information. You may be using tools from companies like Red Seal, which does internal network monitoring, or Renesys, which does external monitoring of the entire internet. That information can be brought in and through the services-oriented architecture, again brought into the shared situational displays and views. So these applications can sit up here on multiple desktops that are user-defined and focused for their work. And this can also be dynamic. Some of the data may in fact be static, and some of it may be dynamic coming in from these cybersecurity tools. And all of this is from the customer's existing data and applications. So to summarize, I hope that you got some value out of this concept of a cyber supply line. We think it improves mission effectiveness, certainly creates shared situational awareness, and facilitates departmental collaboration. And I would be glad to take questions.
Questions for Brian? Well, I'll kick one off here because actually, Brian, this is a developing area. I think you'll agree.
Absolutely.
Where do you think, in your mind, with your experience, where do you think the GeoInt and cyber communities, if you like, will come closer together in the future? We've seen where you're going now. What's the next stage?
Well, I can tell you from my experience on the US side, it's coming together in the commands. The commands have a cybersecurity role. They are desperately trying to find good solutions and data to do that function and provide support to their mission commanders. And they are bringing together the data that they have traditionally had from the GeoInt community as well as the multi-int intelligence, and they want to bring in this cybersecurity data as well. So I think that's where we're going to see the earliest efforts there. Back in the States as well, DHS is very focused on developing this shared situational awareness so that they can work in that multi-organizational context with the Defense Department. So there's some movement in that space as well.
And just going one on, are you looking at all at how you can partake or develop GeoInt to take a part in offensive cyber operations as opposed to defensive security operations?
You can certainly see analogies to that, but due to the classification, I'd rather not discuss that.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. Any other questions for Brian? Okay. Brian, thank you very much for that insight.